What is up, everyone? Matthew, you're in the house.
Good morning, Adam and Patrick, and hello, everyone.
Yes, welcome, everyone. Mr. Paul Turley, thank you for that super chat coming right into the stream there, man. Appreciate that. Merry Christmas to you. Welcome, everyone. Happy Saturday. It is the last live stream of GuyaNaCube in 2021. Whew. Patrick, did you know that this makes 2 full years of us live streaming? You're muted, Patrick.
And he still doesn't know how to unmute himself.
Yeah, it's like...
I did not know that. I did not know that.
Technically, the first stream was in February of 2020, but we'll say it's a full 2 years. You know, what's another month? What's another month? Oh, and you can't unmute. Oh, man, nuts.
I'm unmuted. You can't.
I know. No, you're unmuted. No, I can't hear you, Patrick. Speak. I can't hear you. You did something.
Let's see if he will remember to Zoom when he shares his desktop.
Oh, did you even? Yeah. So, Steina, thank you for just being a member. Very much appreciated. 7 months, loving that. And then Wyatt, 20 months as a member. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to both of you. Love having you here. Thank you for the support. If you are new to GuyaNaCube or new to the live streams in general, put hashtag new in the chat. We always love seeing the new faces. I know that just looking at the viewers, it's a little lower this time around. I'm sure everyone's in holiday mode and detaching, so all good. But I'm sure there's a couple of new folks out there, and we love just saying hi and seeing who's joining us. So love that. Also, shout out to the members of GuyaNaCube. You all do help us do what we do here on GuyaNaCube, and we just very much appreciate it. Love having you here. Love the support. If you see folks with the green name or the GuyaNaCube icon next to their name, those are members of GuyaNaCube. So just thank you so much for being here and helping us out. You can find out more with the link on the screen, or you can hit the join button down below. No commitment required. Just thank you for checking it out and just helping us out. And questions. Yeah, get your questions in. Please put Q: in front of it. Matthew is with us this morning. For those of you that don't know, Matthew Roche is a PM on the Power BI Cat team, which is part of the product team at Microsoft. And so we're always thrilled to have him with us. Thank you for joining us, Matthew.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. And so get those questions in. Matthew's eager to answer. And we also have some other cat folks in the chat as well. Always love seeing the team here supporting on a Saturday morning. Love it. So Q: in front of your question. Get them queued up. Chatmaster C is standing by to get those in the queue. You only have to do it one time, and it gets queued. Usually we don't get to all the questions. I will tell you right now, the queue is very light. So we may get to all the questions. Who knows? Maybe this will be the day. And then please don't spam.
That would be a Christmas miracle.
I know, wouldn't it? It'd be amazing. Just please don't spam. We have a 3-strike rule here on GuyaNaCube. If you do spam after 3, we will put you in a timeout, either Chatmaster C or one of the moderators. The moderators are the folks with the blue names and the wrench next to their name. They are standing by to put these spammers in timeout. So be aware of that. All right, let's see if we have any new. Kathy Ward is new. Welcome, Kathy. Love having you here. I may have, did I miss any others? I'm only seeing Kathy.
Yeah, Muhammad is new.
Oh, Muhammad is new as well. Welcome, Muhammad. Seeing a lot of the regulars in the chat as well. Always love the participation there. All right. Patrick, you doing all right?
Let's do it. Yeah,
I appreciate you finding the hat. I like that.
I did. The hat and the ugly sweater.
Yep. And Chatmaster C reminded me that Paul Turley did the super chat. Yep, I thanked him right in the beginning. So thank you again, Paul. Always love it. And Christian, 17 months as a member. Wow, that's amazing. Oh, and Chandra Kumar coming in with a super chat. Happy holidays to you as well. Very much appreciate it. Also, I forgot to mention super chats take priority over everything else. If you have a burning question, want to make sure you get it through. Always super chats is the way to cut the line. Just be sure if you're doing a super chat that you fill out the text of your question before you submit it. Otherwise, you're just giving us a super chat, which we do appreciate, but we want to make sure that your intent is honored. So be sure to do that. All right, with that, Matthew, are you ready for the questions?
I am never ready. Let's go.
All right, excellent. All right, first up, Kathy Ward, one of our new folks here. She is the first. Matthias wasn't the first. It makes me sad at the end of the year. Can I create a column outside of the query and use it as a key in the table join to link to another table?
And I'm scrolling up in the chat because Kathy was very kindly providing additional context, which is always appreciated. But then, of course, everybody wanted to say hello and Merry Christmas and so on. So I had to scroll forever. But Kathy also said that she is using Power BI Desktop, trying to keep the memory down by limiting what she does inside the query. She wants to create a column on the data table to use it to link to another table. So I think it might be better to let one of you guys respond before I jump in with the longer.
So I'm thinking she wants to do a calculated column after the fact once it's in to do the join. What do you think, Patrick?
Can she do that? Is that a thing?
Technically, you can do it.
That's the thing.
Technically,
Just
you can do it.
Don't do it.
Just
Don't do it.
Yeah, so I think part of the challenge is going to be like, what are you're joining on and you're saying a key. So you have values in one of the tables that represent the key. How do you align that with the other table that doesn't have the key to make sure it has the right value? So that's part of the challenge. In general, yes, you can do a calculated column to do that. You could write DAX to figure that out. It's going to be more expensive than if you do it on the Power Query side. You should be able to do it on the Power Query side. So I would definitely look at figuring out, because you can do custom columns from a Power Query perspective as well. And so you could add that key similar to how you would do it after the fact in DAX. Those capabilities exist on both sides. So I will invoke Matthew's maximum data transformation. Perform your data transformations as far upstream as possible, as far downstream as necessary. So if you can do it in Power Query or you can do it in the data source, do it there. If you don't have any other options, then sure, calculate a column.
Yep.
And so Kathy mentioned that she was new. So one of the things that I want to do is I want to point out that there's lots of different ways to do things inside of Power BI.
Yes.
When I was getting started, I actually used a video from Patrick, which is about 3 years old at this point. I put the link into chat, but Patrick did a video where he talked about going from text files into a star schema data model, basically using Power Query to add an index column and to do a lookup, to solve the category of problem that you're describing here. This is typically the best practice approach because it works the way that Power BI is optimized to work. You also mentioned that you're using both Excel and Oracle as your two primary data sources. Keep in mind that what you do in Power Query, the Power Query engine will fold as many of the operators as it can and push them back to the Oracle database. So essentially, if you're doing filtering, if you're doing grouping or sorting or similar things, that will get put into a where clause or an order by or a similar SQL functionality to push it upstream naturally. If you are doing this type of work in a calculated column in your data model itself, you're basically forcing the work to take place there inside of the engine, not allowing all of the tools that you have to come to bear.
Well said.
That was great, Matthew.
Well said.
Well said. Well
As
said.
always.
We got a super chat, Adam. We got a super chat.
I believe the super chat is for Patrick. Mr. Chris Finland, thank you for joining us as always. So he's got a question. Can you explain when to use and not to use a rectangle in paginated reports? Be specific, please. or would you like me to answer that, Patrick? Either way.
Go ahead and answer that. Go answer it.
All
Answer
right.
it.
Here is the wisdom of paginated reports. If whatever issue you're having, typically it's around, hey, I'm getting this blank page when I'm printing or exporting a PDF or something like that. The general answer from my years in support have been, if it's not in a rectangle, put it in a rectangle. If it's in a rectangle, take it out of the rectangle. And that usually will fix the problem. And Patrick, I believe you actually had an encounter where that actually happened.
It absolutely happened. It absolutely happened. We had some, I think it was like page details we were trying to do. And we had to, we didn't have a rectangle, and we were trying to keep all the groupings together for like ordering. And we put it in a rectangle, and it just worked like magic. It just worked like magic. I have no idea why, but it worked like magic.
Yes. And that was always the thing. That was the thing in support, is we always did that. I know, FYI, there's a thunderstorm, a big thunderstorm over my head right now. So if it does kind of blank out, I will come back on as quickly as possible. So just FYI.
So will Patrick and I get to stay, or will we get kicked off if you disappear?
No, you'll magically come back on. No. Like it has to wait for me to come back up. I am the gatekeeper to all.
Boo.
Yes.
Boo.
Yes.
We need to have we need to have redundancy. We set up redundancy, and then I had to redo my machine. So we need to set up like some failover.
I know we've said this multiple times. We said this multiple times.
We need to set up HADR. We need to set up HADR.
Yeah, cube DR. Cube DR.
Cube DR.
All right. Thank you, Chris, for the super chat. Much appreciated. All right. Evan coming in. I've been having a lot of performance issues with the Dataverse data flows. Ooh, Scott, are you in the chat? I wanted to migrate my Power BI data flows to Dataverse data flows, but it's taking hours to refresh them instead of minutes. Any advice?
Yeah, so for this one, Evan and I were going back and forth briefly in chat as well. I suggested that he open a support ticket.
Yeah.
He's described what's basically a trivial query with no real transformations going against Salesforce. It takes minutes if the data flow is defined in Power BI. It takes hours if it's defined in Dataverse. So that certainly is not expected or appropriate. And if he opens a support ticket, this will allow the Dataverse and or data integration teams to get the information that they need to help get to the root cause. But that's not expected.
I'm going to assume on the Dataverse side that you created an analytical data flow in Dataverse, which should be similar to the data flow in Power BI. The other data flow that you can create is part of the actual common data model where it maps to things, and that could inject some other complexities. So if it is an analytical workflow, I absolutely agree with Matthew. If it's not an analytical workflow, try it as an analytical workflow first to see if that makes a difference. All right. Alex came in as well. Is this a standard or analytical data flow? Yeah. So
it's not analytical. He said it's
not analytical. Try analytical and see if that makes a difference. I only know this because when we were doing, when I was doing the video with Scott, I was like, I actually tried going through this, and I'm like, there's a difference here in these things. I'm like, why is it forcing me to map things? I don't know.
Yeah. And if it is that standard non-analytical data flow, and this is, I'm glad that you mentioned that because that completely went over my head this early in a Saturday morning. It's basically the analytical data flow. It's simply creating text files. So there's no transactional overhead. But these standard data flows in Dataverse, it's basically turning them into inserts or updates based on what's already in the table. And doing row-wise operation rather than larger batch operations. So with that as the context, definitely look at it again, see how many rows are coming back, see what's already in the table, and maybe see if there's a way to have the analytical data flow in Dataverse to eliminate that as a variable.
Yep. And then Evan, you don't need to have it's all handled under the hood, so you shouldn't need to attach a blob storage account.
I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's true with Dataverse. I know
I did it, and I didn't have to do anything from a storage account perspective, so I never assigned anything to it, and it worked. So
even with an analytical data flow.
Yeah. Yep.
Huh?
I did it, and Alex says that's true. Although I don't know if he's referring to mine. Oh yeah, he said you don't need to bring your own data lake storage. So, yep. Yeah, when I went through it, it never prompted me for any of that, and it worked. So give it a try. Give it a try. Alrighty, good. Love the Dataflow question. Let's see, Igor. What steps would you recommend to take in order to build a proper Power BI solution? Example, automation of manual built reports and presentation. I have access to the data source of a company. Do we mean like you're trying to you're trying to automate the creation of a report, like building a report? Is that what this means? That's not an option.
No.
Not for a Power BI report, at least. So there's now if you've already built the report in Power BI Desktop, there is automation you can do to like publish a given report to like a workspace and using APIs and things like that. So that kind of falls into like continuous integration type activities where you can trigger that. But yeah, the specific capability of automating the building of a report, that's not a possibility. So
yeah, but if we're just talking about building a solution, it starts with the data. Don't go berserk. Don't go bananas. Identify exactly what questions you're trying to answer. Don't just assume, Adam and Matthew asked me for a report and they tell you what the report is and you go off and start doing stuff. You got to talk to them and have a conversation with them and gather the proper requirements, then start building the solution. Don't just go and I'm the IT guy. I know everything and I'm going to go and start building stuff. All right. Talk to him. Matthew will tell you everything he wants. Then you go off and build exactly what Matthew needs.
and more importantly than that, the users, and Igor has elaborated, pointing out that he has some people that are using Excel, and he and his team are trying to get them to do those things in Power BI instead. So in this situation, it's not a matter of figuring out what they want. It should be a matter of understanding what's the job that they're trying to complete. So, what are they doing, to what purpose, as part of what process, what are the inputs, what are the outputs? Try to look at the bigger picture of what they're doing and why, and understand that problem domain as well as you can, so that you can then deliver something that they will want to use in Power BI and won't want to do it in Excel anymore, because you've understood the problem and delivered a solution that Excel can't. And this is very hand wavy and vague, so I definitely recognize that. But if you can look at their current processes and understand not just what they're doing, but why they're doing things in that way, to what purpose, this can often help you identify how you can optimize those things to deliver the right data in the right way, eliminate manual steps, reduce the overhead, etc.
Yes. Awesome. Anything else?
Yep. That's great. That's great.
Good luck, Igor.
Yes, and good luck. It's never easy to do that.
Perhaps wait till after the new year. All right, Egbert's got a question. SAP BW consuming some of that data. BW connector has performance issues with it scaling concerns. Tips on how to cope with this. I would say I'm not surprised. So when we look at like specifically like the BW connector, there have been over the years, there have been improvements for performance. But just know that whenever dealing with SAP kind of limits what third parties can do with it. So there are some restrictions on that front that make it more challenging. The other thing I'm going to do is drop a link in the chat to the Power BI and SAP BW white paper. Definitely take a look at that and make sure you're following the best practices that are listed there. If you're still encountering performance issues on that front, the other thing I would say is, try to follow as best you can Power BI best practices in terms of data structures and layouts, things of that nature. I know coming from BW, that can be a little bit challenging with what you're trying to do, but those are things that I would look at to try and improve performance. Past that, maybe open up a support case.
Also, make friends with your SAP administrators, because there are things that they can do on the SAP side.
Yes.
Since SAP is a fully featured data warehousing platform as well, so BW has lots of knobs and whistles, and your SAP BW instance may not be optimized for the type of load that your Power BI refreshes are sending to it. So have that engagement as well to make sure that your SAP configuration is not part of the problem.
Yep. Someone else had commented too, like, isn't there a HANA version of BW? It's called SAP BW for HANA, where you can actually have a HANA front end in front of BW, where it like does some migration of data there, or puts an interface in front of it to where you're connecting to HANA. Obviously, the fact that it wasn't mentioned, I'm assuming they don't have that in place, and that's an infrastructure issue that may be outside of Egbert's domain, right? It might be managed by somebody else. So yes, there are options. HANA is potentially going to be faster. There's other challenges with HANA. So anytime you're dealing with SAP, it's going to be a journey. So I'll leave it at that. So Hale's got
a lot.
Yeah,
that was a lot.
So Hale's got a question. I have 2 Power Queries coming from 2 different SQL databases. The query folding breaks when I do append query. Yes, it will. For both. Please, how can I achieve query folding in this case? You want to go for it, Patrick, or you want me?
No, Matthew. No. This was something we answered, but go ahead.
Well, so yes, appending and merging, there are certain operations in Power Query that will break folding and can't be done on that front. And so if you're doing this, then you need to be aware of that and do as much of your transformations before you're doing the append. And just know that the append could be a heavy lift. It's going to be more intensive on the Power Query side when you're doing that. There are some things that you could potentially do. So like, I know you said different SQL databases. Is there a way we could create a view with a link between those databases on the data source side, so we don't even have to do it in Power Query? The other thing we did, and I've got a video that's going to be... Yeah. There's a video I've got coming out after the new year where I was working with a customer, and they were doing the same. They were doing like merges and appends, and it was really slow. And we did some tricks to where they were actually doing a native query on SQL, and they were the merge was actually grabbing a different source for the IDs to filter down the actual data. And so we actually concatenated those IDs and stuffed it into the native query so that we could avoid the merge. And then at the end, we avoided the append as well. And so you could think about getting creative on the Power Query side to see if there's ways to avoid the append or merge as well. But yeah.
Everybody's saying link servers are terrible. All right, I get it. I was a DBA for a long time. And anytime someone asked me for a link server, I was like, no, you can't have a link server. It's going to kill my SQL server. But if you have a good DBA, that DBA knows what to do with link servers, open query. There's so many ways that you can get that data over without getting that data. You just need a good DBA behind the scenes, So yeah, link servers can have awful performance, but you got to, where's the trade-off, right? Can I get faster performance in my link server than doing the append in Power Query? So I wouldn't just discount them and say they're terrible, don't use them. Test it out. And if you have a good DBA,
option.
It may work.
Right? It's an option.
You'd be surprised. Yeah.
Yes. And Alex had a good point too, is like maybe data flows, enhanced compute engine, maybe handle it a little bit before from a staging process. So lots of options there.
Chris Finland.
Yeah.
Chris Finland. That was a great DBA, Chris. That was a great DBA.
All I know is Patrick put DBA in his Twitter handle. So for me, he's saying he's a great DBA because he still has it in his Twitter handle.
That's a great DBA. Database administrator, Matthias. Database administrator.
Yes.
The great DBA. I was so good that they said you should lead the team of DBAs. That's how good I was, Chris. Then they told me I couldn't do it anymore after a little bit.
Yeah. All right. So Hale, I hope that helps you out. All right, we got 5 minutes till the bottom of the hour, or top of the hour, whichever one's bottom and top. Arthi, is it possible to add second header for a Power BI table report? Should that be dynamic and would look like a subheader or a set of columns, and would that be able to be expanded to exported to Excel? Ooh.
A second header.
Yeah, so like subheader under the main headers. So if you're doing a matrix, there are ways that you can get that effect. There's some settings on the, I always forget, I think it's the columns, where it could end up getting that. Yeah, all rows. So maybe you have to play around with it. It has to be a matrix, so you're not going to get that in a table visual. But that's, yeah, you'll have to play around with it. I don't think it's going to be as elegant as you're envisioning. Yeah, Evan's saying it's just grouping of columns. Yeah.
Chris is going to tell you a way.
Yeah, I know. You can do this in paginated. Paginated reports are good. Yes. Evan's saying calculation groups as well, but maybe. So yes. Yep. So yeah. So play around with some of the settings. It's got to be a matrix visual, not a table visual, and then you can you may get that desired effect. You're gonna have to do some tinkering though, potentially. So
that's interesting.
Man, surprised the thunder's not coming through my microphone. That stuff is loud.
Hey, that's a good thing.
Yes.
All right, Michelle. How do I take my Power BI and DAX journey to the next level? I'm self-taught, so am I. But have made some progress with the help of Guy in a Cube. Awesome. That's great.
All right. The next level. Don't know.
All right, so
we talk
everybody
about this
else
all the
is being really
time.
quiet.
No, I'm giving you guys the opportunity to elaborate on it. I mean, we talk about this all the time.
So I'm gonna tell a little bit about my learning journey. So the thing that I like to do if I'm learning a new technology and its application is I like to find sources like Guy in a Cube where I can sort of wallow in this information. Like these live streams, I learn something every week. There's always a question that I hadn't considered or a perspective that I never would have thought of on my own. So this is kind of like the ambient background learning that will gradually lift the level that you're at. It's not going to be a leap, but you're still going to get there. And then beyond that, when there is a problem that I need to solve, so a given pattern that I need to implement, a solution, a project, whatever it is, this is the forcing function where I need to look at parts of the product that I haven't looked at before to go deep and narrow. And this is where, your favorite search engine, so Google or Bing or DuckDuckGo or whatever it is, like go out and search. Typically, I end up on Marco and Alberto's site, SQLBI.com, or their YouTube videos on DAX patterns and data modeling, because this is often where I am weakest and need, it's where I need to fill in the gaps in my learning. And then the other aspect of it, and this is going back to a question that Jonathan asked that we probably won't get to before we break and switch over to member-only questions. But Jonathan was asking about certification. And I've very successfully used certification as a forcing function to learn the breadth of products that I want to learn better. If you look at the DA100 Power BI certification or other certification exams, there is a published list of topics covered on the exam. And the work that goes into creating this list, it's like months and months with lots of experts from the product group and in industry, understanding like, what are the important things that everybody should know from a hiring perspective, or what are the typical things that a practitioner in this job role working with these tools would need to do. And they then come up with all sorts of topics that are going to be validated by questions on the exam. But whether or not you use, whether or not you take the exam, that's less important from a learning perspective. That's just about validation. But you can use that list of topics covered to basically say, what do I need to know? And then you can Google or Bing or whatever your search engine is to go deeper on those topics where you feel that you need to add to your personal strength. Because the level that you're at today, you're the only person that can effectively validate or identify what your current level is or what the next level would be.
Yes. So
okay, that's all I got.
In addition to all that, do some tinkering. Do some tinkering. That is Adam's favorite thing to do. When someone sends us a question or we don't know the answer to some of these things on the live stream, I have this box that I write the question down on, or Alex will send me a screenshot of it, and then I'll go tinker. I'll go tinker with it and try to figure out how to do it. And if I don't know the answer, someone knows the answer. And I'll reach out to my resources and they'll say, oh, let's jump on. And they'll show me how to do it. Now, right, I've just taken that to the next level. So tinkering is my favorite way. That's how I took Power BI to the next level, honestly.
But I've given this advice to people internally at Microsoft because of some resources that are internally within Microsoft, but also from a community perspective. A good way to challenge yourself is go to like communities.powerbi.com, which is like the forum for like posts of questions there. Find a question where you're like, I don't know what the answer is to that, and use that as a challenge to go figure it out. I'm not saying you have to respond to it or whatnot if you don't feel like putting yourself out there, but use that as a forcing mechanism because there's a wide variety of questions and scenarios that can potentially come up that way. And then, Will said he said that. So, okay. I didn't read that, so sorry. I was just thinking it. Will and I are like mind melded right now. That's what's going on. But yeah, and then social media too. I know some people don't like the Twitter thing, but there's a lot of people on Twitter and you can easily reach out and get some direction and whatnot. So that's a great resource as well. All right. Cool. We are over the halfway point, so we are going to cut over to members only chat. So members and moderators can participate in the chat. Everyone else can still watch the stream, but will not be able to participate in the chat. If we didn't get to your question, I'm sorry. There was like one or two left. So Matthew, we didn't make it. Yeah. So super chats always take priority, but we are going to cut over. And we'll take it from there. So here we go. All right. Yeah, David, no Christmas miracle. Well, yeah, we were close. Alrighty. First up is Karthik. This is totally a Matthew question. Power BI admin REST APIs. Why is there a limit of only 200 calls per hour? Are there plans to remove this limitation? It's a pain to wait an hour to get the next set of details.
How the heck is this a Matthew question?
That was the response I was waiting for.
All you, Matthew. That's all you.
So look at the full set of APIs that are available. So reading between the lines, I can think about the problem that you're trying to solve, calling the admin APIs, but this is a large bucket. I would actually say look at the scanner APIs that were introduced this calendar year. The scanner APIs are designed to have an asynchronous batch pattern that will allow you to fully inventory the contents of your Power BI tenant. And they're also designed to have a delta mode so that, once you do that full scan, kind of like with incremental refresh, you only need to query or interrogate the things that have been added or changed since then. Beyond that, I would say the why is because these are costly from a back-end perspective, and this is a way to ensure that not only do you get, I'm saying this without any irony, not only do you get a better experience than something that might otherwise fail, but it also reduces the impact on the tenant or on the service.
Look at that, Matthew.
I guess
That's nice.
Yeah, but I guess
great.
why so many though? Why do you need that?
In addition to that, I put a blog post. This is a little old. It was from 2019, but this talks about the expand parameter on the APIs.
Yeah.
So like if you're trying to call the workspace API, you can call expand to get all of the things, so you don't have to call like the reports and data sets and all of that. So that's an option that aligns to what Matthew was saying about reducing the number of calls that you have to actually add. So definitely look at that approach as well. With regards specifically to the limit, it's a limit that's just imposed on the service. It's a cloud service that's globally provided. So obviously there has to be some checks and balances to make sure that there are not bad things that happen. So I can't speak to will that get lifted or anything like that. So if that is the case and you really want that and you have a use case where it's warranted, please go to ideas.powerbi.com and drop it there as well. So. All right. Cool. All right. We got a super chat from Wyatt. Thank you, Wyatt. Always, you've been a great supporter of Guy in a Cube over the years. Very much appreciate that. And then, yes, Alt Enter as well. Where did it go? She had a comment. Just to make sure you see my huge thank you to you guys for all the work you put in with the YouTube channel and all the help you've given the community over the years. And everyone here, hosts, guests, and attendees, rocks. Happy holidays and New Year. I had to go to the YouTube chat to read the rest of that. It got cut off on. So thank you, Jessica. Very much appreciated. Again, your support over the years has been very much appreciated as well. So thank you. Thank you. All right, back to the questions. Dan, what's the best way a Power BI professional working alone or with others can use the Git set of tools to their advantage? Oh, that's Patrick's question. He loves Git.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm working alone, I'm working alone. Git is easy because there's no merging or anything. You can't do your reports, but you can do your data sets pretty easy. Now, working with other tools, I'll let Adam answer that part with other people. I'll leave the other part to Adam.
Well, so the challenge right now with Power BI is there's, when we say Git, I start thinking source control and merging and diffing and all of, continuous integration, continuous development, all of that good stuff. There are some approaches you can take with that. I would say it's not fully usable from a Power BI perspective with regards to the reports like Patrick was saying. So if you're just doing a PBIX file, it's a binary file. And so it's just a binary blob, right? So it's you check out, you check in, it's one person at a time. The model piece, if you're using the XMLA endpoint, that can be scripted out as a JSON file and you can do all of those types of development processes against that. I do know of companies, maybe Matthew, I don't know if you want to chime in on this as well, that are using things like DevOps in their organizations to help with some of that CI/CD capabilities. So there are some things you can take advantage and using PowerShell to deploy a PBIX report with the REST APIs. So there are some things you can do on that front, but it's not. I wouldn't say it's fully featured right now.
Yeah, and I would go so far as to say that if you're trying to do any sort of professional source control or DevOps type work, that binary blob, like the PBIX file is, like the one big file that contains all of the other crap, this is going to cause you no end of difficulty, like just from an ongoing basis. It doesn't work the way that those tools, whether it's Git, or related tools, expect source code to work. So just be aware it's not you, it's the current state of Power BI in this regard.
Yes. And I hope that gets better in the future.
Yeah.
All right, Chris coming in with another super chat. I'd like to wish Patrick good luck.
This guy,
for his
can we ban him?
Chris, didn't he leave Power BI? Didn't he leave his local production of Elf? Oh, thank you, Chris. Thank you, Chris. We love you. Oh boy. All right, Fernando. Two-parter. I created a Power Platform Dataflow with parameters to switch between environments. So like dev test, I'm refreshing the Power BI report, and I got this error. Part 2. The data set includes a dynamic data source. Since dynamic data sources aren't refreshed in the Power BI service, this data set won't be refreshed. Isn't that the purpose of the parameters?
No. No, that's not the purpose of the parameters. So sadly, even though this is a valid pattern for parameters in general, Dataflow parameters are essentially the things that would get passed down to a data source. Currently, there is no capability to dynamically select data sources using parameters. So the thing that you're trying to do doesn't work today. And I know that the Power Query team is actively working on longer term work to support dynamic data sources. I don't trust my memory to say what's coming or when, or whether or not this is on the public roadmap or not, but the thing that you're trying to do today, Fernando, will not work.
Good to know.
Boom.
Good to
I
know.
learned something. I learned that. I didn't know that.
I was thinking about it from a different approach on the actual data set side when I'm trying to consume data flows and trying to do something. I was thinking something else, but I like your
I learned
answer,
something
Matthew.
today. Thank you, Matthew.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, Simon coming in.
Now I have to wonder that I misinterpret the question and share something that was wrong, because if you guys didn't know it.
So, because I know like the comment, so like if the data source is SQL, so you can use those parameters to change the server name and database name and go from dev test production.
Right,
So
right.
I assume that that's the approach he's trying to do. Now, what I don't know is because I know data flows are now supported in deployment pipelines as well. And I think in that respect, Matthew's comment is valid from a data set perspective. If you're trying to change up which data flow you're going to, I need more details on like what exactly you're trying to do in that case, because that's like it may be exactly what Matthew's talking about. It may be some other weird oddity. Alex is saying he's on the same page as Matthew, so I can go with that.
Power Query guy.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, that's one of those things. Fernando, if you wanted to send, I don't know what tier you're at. So if you're at the visitor or producer tier, you can pre-submit the question, and maybe Patrick and I could look at it a little deeper. So that might be an option for next calendar year. So, all right, Simon coming in with a super chat. Golden data set question. Does visually dashboards inherit the theme from the golden data set? I would say that's a flawed question. Data sets don't have themes.
Well, hang on. Think about it. If I use the Power BI desktop to design my data set, and I say, all right, I'm going to choose this theme in the PBIX file. I understand what you're saying. What you're saying.
Right.
Then I publish the data set with that theme, right? I publish it. There's no reports. There's a page that's going to be published. There is a page that's going to be published when I publish that data set, right? If I design it from a tabular editor or Visual Studio or scripting the model, there's no page. It's just a data set. And I think what they're saying is, hey, if I design my data set and I say, okay, I have this page, I'm going to go apply this theme and I publish it. Well, when I connect to that data set, does that theme flow down? No, it doesn't. It doesn't. I'm assuming. That's just an assumption.
Because themes don't work with data sets.
Right.
Which is what I said. Thank you, Patrick.
So no is the short answer, but you can create a PBIT file that has that theme and distribute that as a template so that people can have that visual starting point, and having a template or a set of templates that are available both with the theme, with like common resources. So, I won't elaborate on all of them, but basically this is a best practice if you're supporting a community of authors and you want to have that type of consistency. So you can't do it with a golden data set, but you can do it with template files that are shared and communicated to your users.
Yes. Is that what you meant, Patrick?
And Don't give him an easy.
No, I knew. No, I knew what he was saying.
Yeah.
Somebody asked me that question before, and I'm like, you can't do that. You can't do that because even though I assigned that theme at the dataset level, it's no longer applicable once I publish that.
Right.
So, yeah.
Cool. All right. Johnny, any tips for development workflow for premium enterprise models? Do you still start with Power BI Desktop, or would you go down the route of purely using tools like Visual Studio and Tabular Editor? It's a good question. It definitely depends.
I hate to say it depends.
It depends.
It depends, right? And honestly, I would say start with what you're comfortable with.
Yep.
If you start with what you're comfortable with, and if you have premium or premium per user, you can always switch to the more enterprise level tools like Visual Studio or Tabular Editor. But start what you're comfortable with.
The other thing I'll add there is that it's easy to go from Power BI Desktop to Tabular Editor or the bigger, like the grow up story is easier. So if you're already started with the grow up story, you cannot go back to Power BI Desktop. So that's something to keep in mind as well.
Yeah.
Yep. Cool. All right. Christian, what are the main differences in Dataflow capabilities between Pro and Premium per user premium license types? Is Premium per user a must in regards to Dataflows? Most probably this question will be for Matthew. He said that, not me.
So I see. I can read. I saw this one coming in, so he tagged me, so I had the heads up. So look at the documentation for the differences. It's been, even though I did a ton of Dataflows work when they first came out, my life has gone in a different direction, and I'm just no longer a current source of truth or source of expertise for this sort of thing, or at least I don't think of myself that way. I would say there are significant commonly used capabilities that you will want to have as part of your Dataflows toolkit that are only available with Premium per user or Premium per capacity. The most obvious ones being the full set of linked and computed entities and the enhanced compute engine with the performance benefits that brings. So I would say the short answer to the second question is yes, think about this as a must. If somebody is doing Dataflows, default to Premium per user or Premium per capacity as the norm. And as for the differences, look at the documentation. They should be clearly documented for what you need Premium for.
Yeah. Yep. And just a few things that I know off the top of my head is, so like linked entities, the enhanced compute, those are all premium requirements. So, yep. Cool. Chris Finland said that Mr. Matthew's birthday is today, by the way. Happy birthday, Matthew.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you very much. Oh, the other Matthew.
His son, Matthew.
Oh.
Not Matthew
okay.
Roche, his son Matthew. Oh my goodness.
I am not turning 13 today. Not for another couple of years.
Hemant, thank you for the super chat. Very much appreciated. Yes. All right. Michael, we got this question last stream as well. What was the Power BI feature of the year for you?
Sparklines.
Patrick, what was your feature of the year?
You already know mine. They just released it. Hybrid tables.
Hybrid tables. I'm going to go with the new format pane. It looks cleaner and easier to work with. I like that. There was a lot of good stuff this year. I mean,
so for the newer folks that are on the stream with Patrick saying hybrid tables and us just moving on, does somebody want to give like an overview of what that means? Because if this is your like favorite thing of the entire year and it's brand new, that might deserve a couple seconds to explain.
So, right. You got a table can have multiple tables can have multiple storage modes. They can have direct query, they can have import, and they can have dual. Dual means they can act both ways. But now I can take a single table and it can have both import and direct query partitions, which means I'm going to use some marketing terms here, right here. I'm going to get blazing fast performance and real-time data usage from a single table without doing anything, right? That's going to be a great video. Stay tuned.
Wow, thanks for setting that up, Matthew. Yeah. No, it's that idea of that import, but you still want to have that relevant, hey, near real time kind of experience with that table, where you can have that direct query experience for like the most recent set, but still have the imported cache version for the archive pieces. Maybe so you get the direct query pieces on the items that haven't been imported yet.
Or you can flip it. So maybe you don't want the old stuff imported because you don't access that stuff as often, and you just want to import the new stuff, and it's a smaller set. So if they go beyond the recent data, they just gotta wait because there's a whole bunch of stuff they don't care about. Stay tuned, another great video.
Yes. 2 for 1. Yeah. And Matthew, I agree. I saw that in the chat. The goals piece, like goals, was amazing. Yeah, and I agree. Like, wait, that was this year. I'm trying to think of everything that came out this year. Like goals was amazing.
One of the most difficult things as a member of the product team is that we're like day to day, we're living 6 to 9 or more months ahead of what we can publicly discuss. So the things that are part of our day-to-day discussions and our meetings and the places where we're mentally living every day, they're not going to ship until next year, or maybe even the second half or beyond. So thinking about what we shipped this year, it feels like forever ago. And it's not just because it was 2021, which was like 20 years.
Yes. Also, Gen 2 came out. Yay.
There's so many things, man.
Gen 2. Power BI Premium Gen 2. Sorry. Yes. So and there's a lot of good things with Power BI Premium Gen 2. So yes.
So I need to address Mr. Chris Finland. Just one second.
Okay.
Paginated report visual was amazing. Just hybrid tables are insane amazing, my friend. Insane amazing.
To Chris's specific question, I would say so for those that don't know, Chris Finland moved outside of the Power BI product team over to the overall Synapse product team. So he abandoned Power BI. And he abandoned us. And I will say that Patrick was so distraught that he had to stop thinking about paginated reports because it reminded him too much of Chris Finland, and he would just break down and cry. Yeah. So
there was, where's the loyalty, man? Where's the loyalty?
Oh,
where's the loyalty?
That's harsh. No, we love Chris Finland. He's on a new. It's an exciting adventure, and I think he's going to be working on some great stuff. It was. He's still part of the family. So
yes.
All right, and Chris Wagner coming in with a super chat. Paginated report visual, hands down. All right.
Yeah. All right. No, it's great. It's great.
And then Prem Chander, thank you for being a member for 17 months. Very much appreciate that. He said once more, Patrick. I don't know what that was in reference to, though. That was a little bit ago. All right, moving on. We got 6 minutes. Joe coming in. Is saving a Dataflow JSON file? There's a lot of Dataflows questions today. JSON file to SharePoint.
Matthew's here.
Yeah, a good method for version control.
No, it's an awful, depressingly bad method, but it may be perfectly viable. So the earlier comment about source control, about the PBIX being this one giant blob file that contains all of this stuff, for Dataflows, there isn't an obvious way other than deployment pipelines built into the Power BI service to do versioning for the Dataflows definition. So I would say that having that JSON file, which is all of the metadata necessary to recreate the Dataflow as part of a deployment process or in another environment, whether you're putting it in SharePoint or storing it in a Git repository or other tool, the location is less significant than the fact that it works for you. So anytime that you're using SharePoint for version control, it's not good. It may be the best given other constraints. That's definitely the case here.
I agree. have nothing to add to that. Neither does Patrick, by the way. He's not even paying attention.
No, I'm just Alex blew my mind. I did not know about this link that he posted. Anyway, I'm gonna do a video on this. I just told him thank you. I had no idea this was there.
All right. By the way, Prem
Stop
Chander,
distracting Patrick.
Yeah, Prem Chander with his whole once more Patrick was referring to your dance. I don't recall you doing a dance,
okay.
but yes. And then Fernando, 11 months. Thank you, sir. Joining late. Congratulations to the great team. Thank you much. Thank you much. All right. Laura's got a great question. What skills do you experts plan to improve next year?
Matthew, you're the guest.
I certainly don't consider myself an expert in anything.
I agree.
Nor do I have any plans for self-improvement.
That's not
That's not
So
true. That's not true.
I'm hoping to learn to delegate more. So over this year, I have built a team of 5 amazing people. So I became a people manager this year, and all of the things that were hard for me this year really came from learning to be a people manager at Microsoft and learning to let go of the things that I want to do. So for next year, as my team continues to grow, the skill that I want to develop and refine and learn more is to be a more effective manager, to scale through the work of my team while growing those people to be, their better selves.
Yes. And I will echo Matthew's comments, because he and I have been on this people manager journey together, and it has been a journey with a lot of learnings and interesting scenarios and whatnot. And this is on my day job side of it. So yes, so it's been interesting, and I'm excited to see what the next book club will be, Matthew.
I'll delegate.
Hey,
Alex.
Maybe I'll get invited to the book club this time.
Or maybe you won't leave the team this time.
Oh, snap.
Too soon.
So yes, and Paul also points out that I will be spending more time flying, and that's true with my flight simulator rig that I built up. On the Power BI side, though, I always continually push myself in DAX. I personally feel that that's my area that I need to grow more. I think everyone feels that way. There's always something to learn on that front. I will also say that this last year, there have been, there was a reorg on the product side, and so Synapse has come closer to Power BI. And so I want to push myself in that space as well, and understand how the two can work better together, and, just using that as an opportunity. Patrick, what about you?
I don't know what I'm going to do next year. I don't know what I'm going to do today or tomorrow, let alone next year. I kid. Synapse, really. Yeah. Everything Synapse. Everything. I'm going to learn everything Synapse. And then that some Power BI administration stuff.
Let us know in the chat if you're interested in more of the data approach. Still having the 2 Power BI videos a week, so not letting that go at all, but maybe expanding a little bit and adding some Synapse related items or data integration items as it relates to Power BI. If you're interested in that as maybe a 3rd video of the week, let us know in the chat if that interests you. Also,
Synapse, Spark.
Yeah. That means we could do a video with Chris.
Yeah, we could do a video with Chris.
Look at that, Chris. You're coming back. So, Rashraj, I know I screwed up that name. Thank you for becoming a member. Jamie, good to see you. Thank you for becoming a member as well. Mark Walter coming in with a super chat. Thank you for all the tips, videos, and contributions for all of this year. Happy holidays. Happy holidays to you. Jamie doing another super chat. Not another super chat. You did the member thing before, and now you did a super chat. Thank you, Jamie. Simon coming in with another super chat, following up on his question from before. He said, thanks for the answer about the theme. Is it possible to have incremental updates from, let's say, ODBC 3 times a day and once a day. So I did a video, hey Alex, if you can go find this, of how you could do incremental refresh with ODBC. It was bananas. So yes,
It was bananas.
you could potentially do that.
It was bananas.
There is a way.
So
there is a way.
speaking of Synapse, before we sign off, I just want to, Eric Beery said, I still don't understand what Synapse is and how it fits in. That's why we're thinking about doing some videos on it, because I think there's a gap there. I think there's a gap. And that's why we're thinking about it, Eric. So
yep.
Stay tuned. Stay tuned. I already have some ideas. I have like 15 or 16 videos written on my whiteboard over there. So stay tuned.
All right. All right.
Can I respond to Jamie's question?
Yes.
As well.
Wait, Jamie had a question.
So Jamie asked what my favorite new sword of the year was.
Oh, there it is.
So this, and of course I'm away from the mic, so you can't hear me and see the sword.
I can hear you.
But 2021 actually turned into a 5-sword year for me, which is my best sword year ever. But my favorite was this new bastard sword, like hand-and-a-half sword from Angus Trim, who is an amazing craftsman. So if you're on Facebook, search for Angus Trim swords, Angus Trim something something. He doesn't have a real shop, but the swords that he makes, he basically posts pictures and says, I'm going to have this ready for sale in a couple weeks. You send him a message and he ships you a sword. So it's all really low tech for 2021. Ooh. But they are the best performing sharp medieval inspired swords that you can get these days. So absolutely fantastic. And I also want to throw out a pitch that everybody says that self-service business intelligence is like a two-edged sword. And if you want to see the logical conclusion of that analogy, you should plan on joining me and Adam and Patrick in London for sequel bits for the day after dashboard in a day pre-conference session. I don't think this is officially announced yet, but because this is the last chance we're going to have an audience,
yes,
definitely plan on being in London in March. COVID willing, like unless things go really, really south, we are planning on being there and we are planning on blowing your socks off.
Yes, it'll be amazing. And bananas.
It's gonna be bananas.
All right, I think we will. We are over time as well, so we will leave it at that. Thank you everyone for the super chats, for hanging out with us on this Saturday. Just happy holidays to everyone. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. We hope everyone stays safe and well and enjoys family and friends and just ushering in another year. And hopefully 2022 is better than the previous year. I'm getting old to say that. And then Simon, thank you again for another super chat. Happy Christmas and Happy New Year to you. All right, Matthew, any closing thoughts of wisdom past what you just said?
Just be nice to people and be nice to yourself as well. This has been a hard year. We have no reason to believe that next year is going to be any easier. Yep. Everybody is going through their own trials and tribulations, and just recognize that everybody is struggling and recognize that you're struggling and be kind, and everything else will flow from that.
Yes, I agree. And we will be right there with you along that way. All right, Patrick, any closing words?
Yeah, take some time off, guys. Take some time off of work. That's what I suggest, because I work a lot. And I thought about it this morning. I was going to record videos after this. No, I'm not. I'm taking off. I got enough videos to make it through to next year.
We got everything lined up.
Yeah. So take some time off. Take some time off for yourself.
All right, everyone. I agree. Stay safe. Again, we will be with you next year along your Power BI and data journey. And I will leave it at that, because it's really dark outside right now, and it looks like it's almost nighttime. So I will take the stream. It went wonderfully. So thank you, everyone. Have a safe and happy New Year. See ya.
Take care, everyone.